Indian Literature in English is a core paper prescribed for 5th semester BA English Language and Literature under Kerala University. And this video gives a brief introduction to the Indian literature in English. What is Indian English literature? Indian English literature is also referred to as Indian writing in English. It is the body of work done by writers in India who wrote in English language, and their native or co-native language will be one of the numerous languages in India. And also note that it includes the works of diasporic writers, and it began with a colonial encounter between British and India. English as a language was introduced in India during the British rule. The advent of Indian literature in English can be traced to late 1800s and early 1900s, when English education was established in the cities of Madras, Bombay, and Calcutta in the old British India. At first, the Indians reacted with suspicion towards the English language, but later welcomed it with open arms. Let's talk about the terminology or nomenclature of this body of work. It was initially called Indo-Anglian literature. It was also referred to as Indo-British, Anglo-Indian, Commonwealth literature, Third World literature, and so on. During the 60s, 70s, 80s, there were a lot of debate on how to name this body of writing. Indo-Anglian and the other terms mentioned above are not used much now because it directly invokes the colonial connection. Having learned this colonial language, Indian writers started writing in English. Raja Ram Mohan Roy, a social reformer from Bengal, was the pioneer of Indian writing in English. His works were political in nature. He wrote several pamphlets in English espousing the nationalist cause of Indian independence. He insisted that English should be the medium of education in India if it wanted to be included among the world's nations. One of the most notable literary figure during that era was Rabindranath Tagore. He received Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913 for his renowned work Gitanjali. The first book written by an Indian in English was by Sheikh Dean Muhammad, titled Travels of Dean Muhammad. It was his travel narrative published in 1793. The first play by an Indian in English was Krishna Mohan Banerjee's The Persecuted, and it was published in 1831. And this play, The Persecuted, focused on the problems of Hindu orthodoxy. The first Indian novel in English was Bankim Chandra Chatterjee's Raj Mohan's Wife, appeared in 1864. It is a story about the trial of a long suffering middle class Hindu wife at the hands of her callous husband. It advocates the virtue of renunciation over the self love. Then comes the triumvirs Raja Rao, Mulkraj Anand, R.K. Narayan. They were the novelists who stabilized and fortified the Indian English fiction with their ample works and unique literary style. There was an Indianness to their work. As Walsh states, their language has been freed of the foggy taste of Britain and transferred to a wholly new setting of brutal heat and brilliant light. Their works were the forerunners to the magnificent diversity of Indian writing in English that we see today. 1950s was dominated by writers like Anita Desai, Kushwant Singh and Arun Joshi. Anita Desai's famous works are Cry the Peacock 1965, Fire on the Mountain 1977 and Clear Light of the Day 1980. Kushwant Singh's Train to Pakistan and Arun Joshi's The Apprentice were other popular books of the period. Literature of the 1980s took a new turn with the publication of Salman Rushdie's Midnight's Children. It juxtaposed the protagonist's personal life with the history of Indian nation. The distinctive narrative style of the novel, use of magical realism, and Indian words in English gave a new definition to Indian literature. The past few years have witnessed a gigantic thriving of Indian writing in English in the global market. India has emerged as a major literary nation. Writers of the Indian diaspora have entered the elite sphere of international writers.